Hey, can you feel it? Can you hear it? Did you hear it in the flute? Did you hear it in the story? Listen to the story again. Hear it in the cracks. Little glimpses of light hinting resurrection. Explosions of sound and stones being rolled. And angels speak. He is here, suggesting something else. Something beyond. Something more than what they know. New life. Listen. Matthew 28. After the Sabbath, it was the first day of the week. It was dawning. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake. For an angel of the Lord descending from heaven came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He has been raised, as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee, where you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, and they took hold of his feet, and they worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." This is the good news of Jesus Christ. Hallelujah and amen. It is here. It is actually here. In spite of all the anxiety, in spite of all the fear, in spite of a pandemic, in spite of it all, the tomb is open. Easter is here. Jesus has risen. Hallelujah. Easter is here, though like that first Easter morning, not with all the pomp and ceremony of trumpets and glorious organs pronouncing the message. It came on a trill of a flute. It comes tentatively, so much like that first Easter morning, in the midst of all the fear and anxiety and the grief and the sorrow. A hint of awareness, an awakening of an understanding, a dawning of a new idea. Can it be so? Is it possible? It's still dark. It's early in the morning. The Sabbath day, the day of rest, the day devoted to God, has come and gone. Dawn is just about to arrive, but the women, the two Marys, according to Matthew, have a task to complete. When Jesus was buried, not all the death rituals were finished, and they needed to get him in the tomb and the stone rolled in front before the sundown on the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a day of rest, and even the task of preparing bodies for burials was not done on God's day. So there are still parts of the preparation of the body that needs to be accomplished, and it has fallen to the two Marys to complete it. When they arrive at the tomb, incredible and scary things begin to happen. I cannot imagine what these women went through. First, they would have been consumed in their grief as their beloved Jesus had just died. And they would have come with loads of anxiety as they did not know how safe it was to be a Jesus follower after he had been accused and executed for treason. Like, what if they were painted with the same brush? And it is dark, and they are women, and they are traveling without a male companion through the streets of Jerusalem at a time when the city is full of strangers and visitors gathered to celebrate the Passover. So I imagine that these women were walking in fear. Yet there is more. Because in Matthew's account of the Easter events, it includes not only an earthquake, but also a sighting of an angel descending from heaven and rolling away a stone. A sight so scary that the men, the soldiers who are guarding the tomb, freeze and become rigid with fear. The women, on the other hand, keep their heads and face their fears and approach the angel and are able to hear the angel's message of hope and joy. Jesus has been raised. Jesus is not a corpse in a tomb. Jesus has gone ahead to Galilee. They hear a message, they see evidence, they see the empty tomb, and then they're to go and share that good news. But on the way back to tell the disciples about this amazing event that they have just witnessed to, there on the way, when they least expect it, they run into Jesus himself. I think this is probably why the women end up on the ground grasping at Jesus' feet. This morning has been so full of surprises. They are so full of emotions of fear and joy that when they encounter the Christ, all they can do is fall at his feet. They do not have energy for anything else. Have you ever had a moment like that? When you're so overwhelmed with emotion that all you can do is collapse? It happens in extreme grief, when suddenly, without any warning, a beloved partner or parent or child or friend dies. It happens in extreme fear, when our lives are threatened or when we are so afraid we can't do anything else. But it also happens in extreme joy, when someone we thought was gone returns unexpectedly, like Jesus appearing on the road in front of the women. That's the moment when something shifts and you realize that new life is all around you and God is there and Jesus is alive. Resurrection. Hallelujah. This is Easter. In the midst of life, whether we're ready or not, Easter comes, the stone is rolled away, the tomb is empty, and God does the impossible. Life comes out of death. This is Easter, and it's about what God is doing in the world right here and right now. This poem was written by Reverend Preston Price. It's just called A Poem for Easter. Listen. Like a blade of grass pushing up stubbornly through the sidewalk, or like a butterfly emerging from tomb-like chrysalis, but much more. Like the seed after years of dormant death sending up sprout, or like the brown bulb breaking forth from brown earth into brilliant color, but so much more. Like brilliant daybreak after stormy darkened night, or like a rainbow mystically appearing amidst the rain, but so much more. Like a patient making an unexpected, unpredicted turn for health, or like the pine cone opening to spread seed only after touched by fiery death, but much more. Like a beautiful vase emerging from a lump of clay in the potter's hands, or like a hidden spring burbling forth in the middle of a barren desert, but much more. Like the surprise of spring buds pushing aside winter snow, or like someone finally emerging from the fatality of addiction, but much more. So it comes like nothing else, no image adequate, no simile, no metaphor, unable to talk about it but inadequately. We celebrate this great, real mystery that neither language nor imagination can encompass. Easter. It is here. It is actually here. In spite of our anxiety, in spite of our fear, in spite of the pandemic, in spite of it all. The tomb is open. Easter is here. Jesus has risen. Hallelujah.